Well, welcome back. We're talking about the crisis in Yemen, millions displaced from their homes and thousands dead. Let's get back to our panel. Ibrahim, no doubt there's a lot of politics behind this. There's a lot of political affiliations. This war is driven to some extent by ideology, by regional interests and things like that. But let's look at efforts to bring the violence to an end, to bring the crisis to an end. The United Nations Special Envoy wants to restart talks. The earlier talks collapsed. He wants to restart those talks. But the question is, can those talks restart if hostilities don't stop?
I think the talks can start and they can lead to a peaceful end. When the coup of the Houthi militia and Saleh come back and hand in their heavy weapons to the government and allow the legitimate government to take over. But we can't have the same discussions again and again while they're killing thousands of Yemenis across the country. As you know, we can talk about the humanitarian situation, which is very, very important. But let's remember that the humanitarian situation did not start with this war. Under the Saleh regime, half of the population were under the poverty line. So this is nothing new, by the way. The new is the blockade by the Arab coalition against Yemenis and the war that is causing thousands of people have died so far. For example, since just 2015, about 8,000 people have been killed. Wounded, about 19,000. 3 to 4,000 are women, a couple thousand are children. And we're talking about civilians. We're not talking about the resistance. We're not talking about the military. The other thing we need to know about, even when bringing aid to Yemen, by the UN own accounts, the Houthi and Saleh militias had actually blockaded that humanitarian aid and actually looted it for their own benefits. So we need to not to address the humanitarian situation as a result, but we need to address the roots of the problem, which is to stop the kind of regime that was in the northern part of the country. Saleh has to be prosecuted along with al-Houthi, who declared war on Yemenis. Right. We cannot talk about just the humanitarian aid without talking about what exactly led to this, because if we keep talking about it, it's going to go on and on forever. Without accountability, we will not go anywhere. And I think this is where the UN made a mistake and the UN and the Gulf countries, by giving immunity to the Saleh regime, and they turned that immunity as a card to actually expand their power, lead the country to what it is today.
All right, let me go to Catherine. Catherine, what do you believe is the Saudi endgame here?
Please.
Is it to restore President Hadi to office and to contain the Houthi? What is the Saudi plan here? What do they want?
Well, I think President Hadi is a pawn, really, because I don't think that Riyadh cares very much for President Hadi. His presidency has long been void anyway. I think what they're trying to do is to make sure that Yemen remains a satellite of Saudi Arabia, as it was under President Ali Abdel Saleh, by the way, because he made sure that he had open communication with Riyadh, and whatever policies he was carrying was actually, in fact, those that Riyadh wanted to see for Yemen. What you see today is a direct result of Yemen trying to be independent. But if I can go back very quickly to Mr. Ibrahim's comment, I'm actually quite appalled to say that the humanitarian situation happened because of the Houthi. I don't think so. Not even because of Ali Abdullah Saleh. It happened because Saudi Arabia decided to carpet bomb Yemen to oblivion. Hospitals, schools, mosques have been absolutely obliterated. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and countless other organizations, human rights organizations, have already established that the Saudi have purposely and systematically targeted civilian populations. So do not tell me that there's no cause to effect, there is no political agenda here. Of course there is one. They're trying to exert maximum pain onto Yemen to punish an entire people because they dare, ambition to be self-governed. And those are the reality of Yemen. And now you have groups trying to oppose them and denounce them. Today we have people going in front of the UNHCR in Geneva trying to denounce them and expose those war criminals.
Okay, Catherine, let me get a quick response from you.
So let's get the fact straight. We need full investigation. We need an international panel that will go in and investigate all crimes committed by all sides. The problem that we're talking about, when you cite it just against the Saudis, it's just fine. Let me finish my comments. I didn't cut you off, so I just have a second.
Go ahead.
Houthis so far kidnapped 8,845 people, and this is documented, by the way, and was submitted to the UN Human Rights Council. 4,000 of them are politicians. 2,000 of them are activists. 191 are reporters. 159 are kids. These were kidnapped by the Houthis. 1,077 were tortured, let alone that they went against government institutions. They destroyed and looted 550 government institutions, 834 educational institutions. They turned the schools into military bases. They blew up.
All right, Ibrahim, I need to move on.
We need to get the numbers.
Right, okay.
They actually, when it comes to mosques and places of worship, they actually destroyed and targeted about 596 mosques and places of worship.
All right, I'm hearing a lot of blame going all around here.
This is a fact.
Yeah, let me get back to Afrah. Afrah, there's one other thing I want to look at, and that is, to what extent do you think that the blame for what is going on in Yemen should be laid at the door of the United States and the United Kingdom? They are, after all, Saudi Arabia's biggest supporters. They're also Saudi Arabia's biggest weapon suppliers.
That's what makes the conflict in Yemen extremely complicated, because as much as those aggressors or different sides that are involved in worsening the humanitarian situation or the war crimes committed by Western countries made weapons, we still need them. So what I see, even with the comments of the other guests, the polarization with the conflict in Yemen is getting extremely wide, and that also reflects with the different factions that are involved in the conflict. So you have the Houthis from one side, along with Saleh, and then Hadi and Saudi Arabia from the other side. And every side want to save face in this conflict. And with that comes the need for diplomacy. And we need a third party to come in and try to find a settlement.
All right.
Because we cannot have Yemen as a second Syria.
Okay. Catherine, I've only got a minute left. Do you see a quick end to this crisis? Do you see a political will among the warring parties, to bring this to an end?
I think it's going to take a very long time unless the international community actually intervene against Saudi Arabia and makes them stop, because this war has been unilaterally declared and it should stop by the Saudi. The Houthi and the resistance movement with them are not fighting the Saudi, they're trying to defend their country. People need to understand that international means something, and they should go back to the table and let the Yemeni decide what it is that they want for themselves. We cannot continue to try to impose a certain form of governance just because it suits Western powers or certain capitals in the world. It doesn't work this way if we really truly want to achieve democracy. And Yemen is a broken land. We need today to allow for humanitarian aid to come in, and we need for war criminals to be tried. And crimes against humanity have been committed in Yemen. 22 to 23 million people are starving right now. Millions of people have, children are dying. Millions have been displaced. Tens of thousands, have died or have been injured. You cannot continue to have those kinds of numbers and people not feel outraged.
Okay, that's where we're going to have to leave it. Thanks to all of you for joining us.